While some push for an extension of the US bailout to homeowners, others argue that the whole idea of a government rescue is folly. Peter Schiff is the president of Euro-Pacific Capital in Connecticut. He believes in the purist free market principles of what's called the Austrian School of Economics. Peter Schiff says the market must be left to deal with the mess, and government intervention will merely delay the inevitable reckoning and lead to a far worse crash. He spoke to Stephen Long.
Well, I don't think it's going to rescue us from anything. I think what we're doing is the equivalent of selling our financial souls to the devil, because it was the government that got us into this mess. It's Henry Paulson, it's Ben Bernanke, and his predecessor, Alan Greenspan. They created this mess, not the free market. And there's no solution that involves more government. And there's certainly no solution that involves more inflation. I mean, if we think we can solve our problems by creating inflation, we ought to send some of these guys down to Zimbabwe to see how well it's working out for them.
You're not suggesting that America could end up in a situation like Zimbabwe with totally out of control inflation?
No, yes, I am. I'm not only suggesting that, I'm saying that.
Why do you think that that's the case?
Because that's all we've got. Remember, if we just keep creating money, maybe another couple of $1 trillion to try to buy up all these mortgages that never would have existed if it wasn't for, number one, the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates much too low, and then the government interfering in the housing market with entities like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which insured all these mortgages and which allowed all these crazy mortgage products to come into existence. They never would have existed absent these government guarantees. If lenders actually had to worry about getting paid back, they would have required down payments. They never would have loaned people so much money on these nutty terms. It was only because the government guaranteed to make the mortgages good that the credit was flowing, and because Alan Greenspan kept the rates so low, it made these bubble home prices seemingly affordable. But first they set up the disaster. But where I'm seeing we're going to get into hyperinflation is we need to now, print up or sell trillions of dollars worth of bonds, and we have to hope and pray that the Chinese and the Japanese and the Saudis and everybody else in the world who's already loaded up on our bad paper want to keep loaning us more money so we can go on and spend it. Because remember, we're not going to be able to pay any of this money back. We're not using this money to build a factory. We're not going to have any real wealth. We're just spending it on consumption. So as soon as we burn through this 1 or 2 trillion, we're going to be out with our cup in our hand trying to get the world to lend us some more.
Do you think that there is a risk now that China and the oil-rich states will no longer be willing to fund the huge US current account deficit and debt?
Yeah, that's going to happen eventually. And maybe it's going to happen. Maybe this is the straw that finally breaks the camel's back. And the problem is, if we can't get funding from the rest of the world, the only source of funding is the printing press at the Federal Reserve, and they will print our currency into oblivion.
What is the alternative to this huge bailout, this huge rescue package, hundreds of billions of dollars thrown in to rescue Wall Street?
The alternative is to let the free market sort this out. The government made this mess. They're sure as hell not going to solve it. We need to let the market work. Now, that doesn't mean that this is all going to be sunshine and lollipops here in the United States. We're going to have a tremendous recession if the government does nothing. But we're going to have a worse one. We might have a hyperinflationary depression if the government goes through with this plan.
What do you think the likely implications are for Australia?
Well, look, I mean, Australia's got some problems too, but one thing Australia has a lot of is natural resources, and they're going to be in demand, particularly when countries like China depeg from the U.S. dollar and let the dollar go down the drain. You're going to see an explosion in consumption from 1 billion Chinese who are going to see the purchasing power of the yuan go through the roof. And all of a sudden, their wages and savings are going to have a lot of value, and they're going to start buying a lot of things that require a lot of natural resources. And I think that's going to help out Australia.
That is a very different view to the view that some people are putting. There are people saying that if America goes into a severe recession, then it will bring down China and Australia.
No. The only way we'll bring down China is if they let it happen. If they tether their economy to our ship and they sink with us. You see, we're not helping out the world's economy. The world is having to support us. The world's problems are the result of having to prop up the United States. If you simply let us sink, you'll be fine.
Peter Schiff speaking to Stephen Long from Connecticut.